since we are now Sunday, it's a day of rest, and cannabis is still fully legal whether the Brummies like it or not. The career does of course mirror the very unfunny comedy, I'm sure, for the Brummies, Biodome, which is a great favourite of some of my former friends living in Birmingham. But the career, of course, mirrored it. You're sort of stuck in a pod with various ignorant psychopaths who try to destroy things, and you're just trying to chill out and get things done, and it all goes a bit wrong. So just seeing the dome around Edinburgh made me actually think of that. The thing with compliance departments, they are sort of quite cult-like. I mean, you've got to actually understand the job itself, then you've got to actually train people on the various sort of basic systems, then you've got to expect them to know the law, then ethics, and as we're finding out, when the law says you've got to be EQA compliant, the EQA covers the human animal, so a monkey. If you're in the court service and you can't sort of think about medicine on an adult level, you're probably not really fit to do the job. So it's just the case that the Brummies aren't really, they can't make sensible inferences regarding a fairly straightforward 2018 law change. They can't go and sort of seek advice or consider that maybe they've made an error. So we're going to send us an email and absolve themselves of responsibility. But we've got this thing, Debs. So the problem they've got is every time they try to do anything, they're stuck in this kind of nexus of misery and despair because they're living in Birmingham. So you can't actually think lucidly or freely or be happy or think about the future because it's sort of a post-industrial pit of misery which is now being looted for the magical equity substance by Joanne Roney's orcs. So this is a straightforward inference. It's not a particularly polite or professional way of saying this, but again, when you're dealing with violence, you don't need to actually put in a polite legalese term. You say, no, this is the case, and we think about security. For obvious reasons, again, Debs can't do that because she can't do the job. But again, she quite likes some central government money, so as long as she kicks the can down the road, she gets paid next week, next month, and that's all hunky-dory. But it's just the case that, again, you can't actually do that. It doesn't matter how long it goes on for. If they haven't been contacting, police or solicitors since last year and deliberately trying to, sever connections so you can't resolve matters in Birmingham sensibly via an advocate, which you would obviously need given the seriousness of what they've been doing. But the proximal corruption is just too much for you to resolve internally, and because these people are going to have their careers ended and their money taken away, they're going to be just very aggressive proximally. And of course you've got the sort of people in Birmingham who are just very, very violent, as we're seeing, and a culture that says that kind of predation is totally fine because of the stuff being pumped through corporate communications based on David Gilbourne's work for several years from 2020 onwards. So it's an American problem, but it came through British public bodies. So because it's sort of a toolkit, effectively, as Lindsay outlines, you get sort of an injection in your arm and the parasite comes in, it reprograms your DNA of your organisation. But at every stage of the process, if you're ever honest and brave, you could say, no, I'm sorry, this is bullshit, I'm not going along with it. We've had 6 years in Birmingham of being quite sensible, for obvious reasons, dialing it back, putting things through the channels. But at the end of 6 years, it became untenable, and we now do have this little cretin who thinks that adult man are going to stick around to be stabbed to death for her benefits, and at the end of that, it's acceptable to play silly games with computers and say, I'm sorry, you're being stabbed to death too noisily, here's 6 months pay to go away and be quiet. No, we're not going to be doing that, dear. I don't care about 6 months pay because you're interfering with my assets, which are quite considerable in time to the city. So if you're playing stupid games with me and my family, then you're playing stupid games with effectively the British legal system, whether you like it or not. They can't ignore me forever. We've got to go through legal proceedings at some point. So it's just, when is that going to actually happen? But they're deliberately trying to delay as long as they can because they're all so corrupt. So again, I'll upload a lot of these things now. We'll stick a load into Google's or whatever whatever YouTube uses, I'm sure it's sort of Google's or Amazon servers or whatever it is these days, but get that saved into the sort of information architecture that would survive a nuclear war, and just point out to people in Birmingham that you can live there for 42 years, work there for 17 of them for the local authority, of course, the jobs in the city as well, and at the end your life is worth nothing to those people. So whatever you think about the current situation, this is just an accurate statement of reality. The value of human life in Birmingham is particularly low at the moment because of John Cotton's corruption, effectively. So until that's dealt with by the law, people like Cotton will get away with going, quote unquote, beyond the law as much as they like. It was a challenge to the legal system, still is, but the McGraths will meet it, because we've been watching them for 6 years. We've got their laptop, and Cotton's a moron. So the idea that this guy can sort of hide, and all of his team can pretend they're court officers, just vanish in a fairy tale sense into the mist, is not really turning out to be true. They are still here, just getting sort of larger and angrier and more ready to tear their throats out, really. Yeah, for the record, on Sunday, thinking about shrapnel is actually relaxing, so I shall go home and stroke it.